Let's welcome in the management at Biocon. It's a stock which is in focus right now. Kiran Mazumdar Shaw is joining us on the phone line. Ma'am, firstly, congratulations on the expected line, but it comes in as the big boost that US FDA approval has come in for insulin Gargline injection. This probably would be the biggest biosimilar that you have filed till date.
Well, certainly it is a very large biosimilar opportunity because, it is an $8 billion global opportunity. And of course, US is the largest market. It is about $6 billion. And right now, as you know, we already have a biosimilar of Lilly's in the market. So we will be the second biosimilar in the US market. And we believe that this is an exciting opportunity because we do have a portfolio of insulin analogs that will follow, including our own recombinant human insulin. So that is why the insulin segment is a very important segment for Biocon.
Right. So when we just talk about the number of players, the point that you highlighted, till a 4-player market, market share gains, a little bit of pricing cuts does make the market look attractive. That is the case generally that we take in orals, but would that also be true for biosimilar?
Absolutely. In fact, Lilly itself has, already attained a market share of about 13% in a very short time. And I think Biocon, Mylan also have a very good opportunity of getting to a double-digit market share in the very near future.
Right. Ma'am, when we just look at some of the data that has come in terms of market share apart from this approval, some of your products in month of April and March, after 2 months of decline of flattish sales, have tend to gain some market share. Can you just talk about that? Was that purely because of what's happening around the world?
Well, we did have a setback in March because of COVID-19, and now what you're seeing are signs of recovery. I think we already mentioned to you that we expect Q1 to be a recovery quarter and then Q2 onwards to be a growth quarter onwards. So I think that's what you're seeing right now. You're basically seeing a recovery in the last few months.
Right. Just a word on what's happening in pharma in and around the world. I know we've spoken much about it, but with what's happening, how things are progressing, of course, it's impossible to predict whether there'll be a second wave of this virus or not. But what do you make of healthcare spend around the world, and what does that mean for pharma and the healthcare sector?
Well, that's a very good question, and you know that healthcare spends have been hugely challenged because of COVID spending. And it means that post-COVID, every healthcare, system in the world is going to look at cost cutting and cost reduction. So I think from that point of view, generics and biosimilars have a very important role to play in that effort. And therefore, I believe that post-COVID, we will see, opportunities arising for all biosimilar companies. Of course, it will also mean that you will see maybe greater discounting. But I think volume-wise, biosimilars are definitely going to gain a lot of traction post-COVID.
Right. Also, just another word that, of course, one cannot prepare for, a complete lockdown or, what's happening with the number of cases worldwide. Can you just tell us that, what essentially, one should take learnings from this COVID in terms of health infrastructure? What will it teach us once this is behind?
The way I want to answer that is the way certain states in India have managed COVID. And I think this is a very important learning for all the states in our country, that, the lockdown definitely helped us to get into a state of preparedness and planning. But I think during the preparedness and planning state, some of the states basically did do a much better job of testing, tracking, and treating. So I think states like Kerala and Karnataka did a great job of making sure that any positive case, any outbreak was immediately pounced upon and, dealt with through quarantining, through treatment, through hospitalization, whatever it was. But they've done a very good job, and they've kept up with that kind of an approach even now after the lockdown was lifted. And if they continue to do that, I think these states will be in a much better place than the rest of the country. But I think the rest of the country also needs to emulate these kind of methodologies. I know that, right now we are reeling under a surge of infections and death rates in many, many parts of the country. But I am very optimistic that we will learn to manage it, but through better knowledge sharing and better sharing of good practices. So I think that's what needs to happen. States need to collaborate with each other for better knowledge exchange.